The 104th episode of the Roy's Boys podcast starts right now.
It's not about you. It's about that name in front of your jersey.
And ready on his second attempt. That is no good. Battle for it. Loose ball. Recovered Marvin. Pushes in here, Davis. 8 seconds. Davis trying to get free. Over to Fox. Fox, baseline. The shot good. On the slam. Oklahoma timeout. But the game is over. The game is over. Carolina has up number 1, Oklahoma.
With 20 seconds left to play. Goes back to Michael Jordan. Jumper from out on the left. Good! 63-62. 13, 12, 11. Georgetown with one timeout. Brent Brown looking. Oh, way to win it! 35. The Tar Heels are going to win the national championship.
Rebounded by Weber. Michigan out of timeout. Weber front court. Carolina with foul. He takes the timeout. They're out of timeout. Technical foul. Technical foul. Brown gets it into Williams. Here comes Williams front court. Williams on the drive. Gets it back out the head. Long outside shot. Short rebounded. It's over. Carolina has won the national championship. How about them Tar Heels? They are the national champions.
That's it! Make room for 2017. The Tar Heels are the national daggum champions.
That's what it's all about right there. That's on the floor. That's on your shirt. That's in your heart. That's why we're all here.
This is the Roy's Boys podcast with your host, Joshua Marlowe.
Hey guys, and welcome into another edition of the Roy's Boys podcast. We are powered by Carolina Electrical Services. And today, it's going to be a tough one. We got to look back at that heartbreaking loss in Blacksburg Wednesday night. Carolina fell in double overtime to the Hokies. And get you ready for tomorrow's home game against Miami. And look, Anthony, there aren't many times that I come in here and I don't have anything left to say. Whether it's after a win where we played great, whether it's after we played bad and we get our butts kicked. I'm out of words to describe this season. And I'm not even mad about what happened the other night. Because if you'd have told me Carolina was going to be without Cole Anthony, Brandon Robinson, Anthony Harris, and Sterling Manley, and lost in double overtime on the road in a hostile AC&C environment, I'd take it. And so I'm gonna take the loss because we can't.
I can't not. You can't send it back. This isn't a Christmas gift.
We can't. We can't protest the loss. We got beat, but I mean. There's so much happened in that game that I just shrugged my head and said, "Well, you can't complain there." Virginia Tech misses a three, it goes long to another guy in the corner, and he just jacks up a triple and buries it. I mean, in most cases, those I'm going to live with that result because we have a Kobe White or a Cam Johnson that's going to go down and make the same play, and Carolina just doesn't have that right now. Garrison Brooks, his effort the other night. This is, Roy Williams said he was he's become a foxhole guy, the guy he'd want to go to war with. His effort, his importance to this team is, and this is going to get a conversation, is so Tyler Hansborough-esque because Carolina doesn't have a chance unless he plays. I mean, this is a guy that, and I've harped on this all year. 2 years ago, and even last year, we didn't ask him to score. We just said, hey, rebound the ball and play good individual and team defense. He scored 35 2.5 weeks ago at home against Georgia Tech.
Yep.
He then dropped 28 the other night. And this is now normal. Because that's our only chance of winning, is you're going to get the ball, and you're going to have to put the ball in the basket. And mind you, Virginia Tech doubled him majority of the second half, and he hurt his wrist right before halftime because that's how this season is going.
What a shock, yeah, right? Yeah.
And he still dominated the game. He controlled the game more than any other player on the court and played 48 of the 50 minutes possible, and you never once complained. I mean, when the final horn sounded in that double overtime, he fell to the floor. Part of it was because of frustration because of another loss. It's pure exhaustion because when he's leaving everything on the court, and that's a term that gets used more than it should be. The other night he left everything he had on the court, and I think that was this whole team left it all on the floor the other night. Garrison Brooks played 48 minutes. Justin Pierce played 45. Leaky Black played 47. This is a great stat I heard today. Andrew Platek played 49 minutes Wednesday night. Last year, in 18 ACC games, he played a combined 55.
Yeah. Yeah, these are guys that shouldn't be playing these types of numbers at all. I mean, you're talking about a team that rolled with 7 guys as their rotation the other night.
And it was really 6 because Keeling played 9.
Right, and he only pretty much played because
other guys were getting a break.
Baycott got in foul trouble. They had to kind of readjust some certain things. Yeah, but I mean, you literally had 4 guys that played over 45 minutes in a basketball game at the college level. I mean, that's wild. And we're not talking about guys that are superstars either. We're talking about guys like Justin Pierce, who has been highly criticized all year. Played, in my opinion, his best game just because you look at the opponent that he was playing against. I think you got to give him that game over UNCW and what was the other game that he had a really good game in? Yale? Was it Yale that he played really well? That's right. So, I mean, yeah, I think it's really hard to be overly critical about this game because going in, we didn't think they were going to win this game. You know, going into what was a really good environment for Virginia Tech again. And that's a team that's good, a lot better than that people expected, but this is not a typical Carolina, so we were wondering, would the environment be as great? It was. I mean, that was probably one of the tougher environments that we've seen so far this year. I would say it's probably right up there with Gonzaga so far this year. It was raucous in there. And they came out, they responded, they played about as well as you could have hoped for. But it's like you said, and I said it during the game, when Virginia Tech needed to hit a shot to stay in the game or to put them on top late in the game, they hit the shots. They hit the shots they needed to win the game, and Carolina didn't. And, you know, I think when you look back at some of the things that they could have done better, you know, the shooting at the free throw line wasn't great. They missed 5. The 5 of their 6 misses at the free throw line came in the second half, including a 4 for 9 stretch to close the game. But at the same time, it's just, you know, how much more can you really ask from these guys? Because you could see it on the floor the other night. The effort was there. They were doing everything that they possibly could to beat an opponent that they knew right now was better than them. And they almost found a way to do it. But at the end, things just broke down. Guys were tired. You could see it on the defensive end. And, you know, at the end of the day, it's one of those ones that really, really hurts. But it's a step in the right direction, especially with the fact that Cole Anthony should be coming back soon. You're at least seeing that this team has said, okay, we're not completely giving up, because it looked like they had against Pittsburgh. It looked like they knew that, okay, this season is pretty much a wash. We're going to move on and just kind of go through the motions. This was a good response. It's just now, you know, they've got Miami coming up, State coming up. Some of these games that you want to see them start to win. Even if they don't make the NCAA tournament, you want to see this team fight and at least have a chance in the games down the stretch and play at least an entertaining brand of basketball, which to me, I don't know, to me they played an entertaining brand of basketball the other night. Not great shooting, but still.
If they bring that effort every night, and it's going to be hard to play with that maximum effort, 20-odd games left, they got rest left to go, they're going to win because they're going to out-effort teams. And that's what Carolina this year has to do. When Roy Williams made the comment, this team isn't the most gifted, what he was basically saying was you've got to give me more effort.
Mm-hmm.
We've won, and Roy Williams won 879 games, and I would probably say 800 because he has more talent, more gifted, where his teams didn't have to play hard all the time.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
Last year's team didn't have to play hard because they
were that good.
Nobody had Kobe White.
Yeah.
Nobody had Cam Johnson, who was a 50% three-point shooter. I think this team finally realized the other night that if they want to win and if they want to get Roy Williams that 880th victory that we're all dying for him to get, and they want to quit breaking or making all kind of bad history for this program, you better not be able to walk when that final horn sounds. You better be so physically spent that walking in that locker room, it hurts. And one thing I loved about this game was we talked leading up to the game, man, Carolina's got to go play a 2-3 zone because they can't guard the ball. That's the best man defense they've played in conference play, and it wasn't even close.
Yeah, no
so
doubt about
it really
that.
shows you how much I know, and it's a good thing that I never decided to get into
effort
coaching
level
because
was
I'd get
just better.
fired.
Well, the effort level was just better. No, I mean, look, you were justified to think about the 2-3 zone because before the other night, I mean, it was really easy for teams to drive the basket. It was a good response. Andrew Platek played a lot better on the defensive end. Leaky Black played a lot better on the defensive end. So, yeah, I mean, look, I'm with you. We said on this podcast and talked about going 2-3 zone, and I was with you because it worked against Pittsburgh. It's just Carolina just showing that, look, the problem against Pittsburgh wasn't the fact that we weren't talented enough defensively to stop them. It was just that the effort really wasn't there. And you need to see that type of effort that we saw against Virginia Tech the rest of the way. I mean, that's hard to ask for, but it's got to be there. And, hopefully some other guys can, get back into the rotation, help out a little bit so that some of these guys aren't quite as spent as they were at the end of the game the other night. But at the same time, I mean, you're wanting to see these guys lay it all on the line because, yeah, I agree. That defensive performance was the best that we've seen in conference. And it was against a team in Virginia Tech that came in shooting the ball pretty well from deep, and we knew that was going to be an issue. It popped up at times. That's the reason they won the game, was because they were able to knock down those clutch three-pointers that they needed. But at the same time, I mean, this could have been a game where if Carolina just failed to defend the three. They had some moments where they went with the ill-advised double teams that we've seen all year, but it was a little more rare than in some of the other games. This could have been a lot worse if Carolina didn't show the effort that they showed on the defensive end, and that's the thing that they've got to realize. We talked about it in the in the preseason before we even knew how bad this team was going to be shooting the basketball. This team needed to be good defensively to win games, and that is still true. That is even more true now that we've gotten into conference play, and we've seen that no matter what, this is not going to be a team that is going to shoot the basketball well. So you are going to need to make up for it on the defensive end, and I think they did that the other night against Virginia Tech. Now you're going to have to be able to do that throughout the rest of conference play, and it's going to be tough since you're facing some really good offensive teams, but that's the way you're going to have to win games.
The biggest thing I took out of this game from a negative standpoint, and this is really, and I'm not the guy that believes in using injuries as an excuse because I think that's just a cop-out. Our end-of-game offense, you can just tell that they can't run anything because without Cole Anthony, without all these other guys, they don't have time in practice to put in 4-minute offensive sets.
Your go-to guy late in the game was a center who was being double-teamed for most of the second half. He took both of the late shots for you. So
because I've been watching Carolina play for 10-plus years, I've never seen them literally just go stand the ball, hold it, shoot it, and we'll go play for overtime. Most of the times we're going to go attack and go win the game. They don't have anything right now that they can go to. And in the second overtime, the offense kind of hit its lull. But I think that was the most eye-opening thing was Will Williams' offense is never always great under 4-minute situations. We've seen him this under his coaching. They've blown games because they haven't been able to execute. But the other night was just a whole the inability to have any faith and any trust to go run a play. Because they didn't run. They literally stood at midcourt, and you just threw the ball into Garrison, and you just shoot, and we'll live with the result. And it's disconcerting, but it's understandable because at this point they don't have anything else to do. You don't have Brandon Robinson. I mean, you could have run a play for him. You don't have Cole Anthony to take someone off the dribble. You don't have anybody.
Have Anthony Harris, who was starting to get into a rhythm. Yep.
And so it's one of those things that it just shows you the max of where this team is right now because that's one thing you don't ever see from a Roy Williams coach team. We'll go ahead and move on to Miami. Carolina comes in 8-10, 1-6 in the ACC. 6 straight losses in ACC play. The first time that's happened in program history. Mind you, this conference was founded in 1953, 1954. Miami's 10-8.